Hello yet again. So we're still in chapter 1, obviously. And in this video, I want to talk about the variables that are going to be there in an experiment. Right? Now, when it talks about research methods in chapter 1, there's only one research method that can make us or enable us to make cause and effect conclusions about variable A causes variable B to do this. That's cause and effect. That cause and effect can only be demonstrated in an experiment, right? Any other type of research you do is not going to be able to enable you to make cause and effect conclusions. So an experiment is like the holy grail in science and in scientific psychology. You want to do an experiment. You want to be able to demonstrate cause and effect. The way you do that is you talk about independent variables, which is going to be, this is going to be the presumed cause. We're talking about before you do the experiment. You think it's going to be the cause, but you don't know yet, right? So the independent variable is the presumed cause. This is going to be the variable that you control and manipulate as the researcher, all right? So an example, well, let's stick with that Mozart effect study that we mentioned previously in the previous video on operational definitions. What I'm going to do is I, as the researcher, believe that music is going to influence intelligence, right? So once again, you got this theory. From that, you have to draw a specific hypothesis and more specific testable statement. Listening to this particular piece of Mozart music is going to influence, spatial intelligence, all right? So the independent variable is that variable that I control and manipulate, and that's going to be the Mozart music. Do they listen to music or not? Do they listen to Mozart music or not? I'm in control of that. I'm manipulating that as the researcher. That is the independent variable, we call it, right? Now I'm going to see if when I manipulate this independent variable, if it influences another variable, and that other variable is the dependent variable, right? The dependent variable, once again, before the experiment begins, this is going to be the presumed effect, that cause and effect you're looking for, you want to demonstrate in an experiment. So the dependent variable is the presumed effect. We believe that this is going to be influenced by that independent variable, the Mozart music, okay? So this is sometimes described as the variable that you measure in a research study. So a dependent variable is what you're measuring to see if it is influenced by your manipulation. So independent and dependent variables. Now, unfortunately, sometimes there can be variables you cannot control or you didn't realize ahead of time that this might influence the results of the study. So if there's something that influenced the results of the study or the dependent variable other than the independent variable, that's a confounding variable, right? That's something we don't want. So a confounding variable is something other than the independent variable that influences the outcome of the study, and this can invalidate your experiment, right? So if I was having people listen to Mozart music, you'd randomly assign people, some to listen to Mozart music, others to not listen to Mozart music. Maybe they don't listen to anything. And later you take their test scores on a spatial intelligence test. Let's say when I was doing that study, I have different sessions of that study that I run. One day, when I'm running a group that listens to no music, maybe they're up there listening to music and the power goes out on campus. That could be a confounding variable. That will distract those participants. It will influence, how well they do on that spatial intelligence task. That's something other than the independent variable that's influencing the results. So that power loss would be a confounding variable, and I'd have to do my study again, right? It would invalidate my study. So that's independent variables, the presumed cause you control and manipulate. You're seeing if that influences the variable that you're measuring, the presumed effect, which is the dependent variable. And if something else influences the outcome other than the independent variable, something else influences the outcome, that's a confounding variable that messes up our study. We got to do it again, right? So that's some of those concepts they mentioned in the chapter 1 related to variables in an experiment.